All right, I'd like to reconvene the meeting of the St. Mary's County Board of Education for Wednesday, May 10th, 2023, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have two changes to the agenda this morning, so can I have a motion to approve the agenda with the changes?
I move approval of the agenda with the following adjustments. To move item 11.01, Department of Safety and Security, to immediately follow the item 5, Superintendent Report and Student Board Member Report. And to move item 10.04, Social Studies Textbook Adoption, to first under action items.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're attempting to accommodate our good sheriff and our student board member who is rushing off to an AP bio test.
And that, you said last night that makes, this is number 5 today? This is number 6 today.
Yeah.
No one will ever say you are not an overachiever. So I shall have brief remarks. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. May is an incredible month. Mrs. Washington and Mrs. Andrews, were you with me at the jazz? We were together, right? For the All-County Honors Jazz Band concert. It's one of the culminating all-county events. It's a lot of fun. It's of all of the performances, the jazz and just the way it all is put together, it allows for students to really have a moment to shine and express themselves and interpret the music that they have. And this year was just awesome. And I do want to do a little shout out and encouragement to our elementary guest conductors, were our very own J.C. Guy and Christina Baker, and they did a jazz version of Aha's "Take on Me," which struck me deep to my heart, bringing back the 80s and jazz. It was awesome. Then we had Phil Barnes from Montgomery County Public Schools leading our middle school jazz band, and he did Chicago's 25 or 6 to 4. Awesome. So much fun. And then we finished off with David Kaufman from Anne Arundel County Public Schools as the guest conductor for the high school, and they finished the night with Stevie Wonder's "I Wish." It was awesome. It was so much fun. Thank you to our guest conductors and to all of our musical directors that get the kids all prepped and ready to go, and everybody that was there. It was a really fun night. We also had the SMECO Outstanding Teacher Awards up in Waldorf. Again, a wonderful opportunity to recognize our teachers, have a nice dinner, and I love this event. And why I love this event is, first of all, because it's a community partner recognizing the excellence in our teachers, and they are fantastic. But it gives our supervisors an opportunity to bring words about teachers to the larger group. And our supervisors, and we have a whole bunch out there, they just do a beautiful job because they know the teachers so well. They truly know how they are gifted in their craft, and it's a really great evening. So Diane Dyer from Evergreen Elementary School, Elizabeth Dyson from Leonardtown High School, Jessica Johnson from Leonardtown Middle School, Abby Liverman from Chopticon High School, Erica Samuel from Leonardtown Middle School, and Naomi Thompson. Congratulations, what a great night. And to our supervisors, thank you very much. And for Mr. Boyle, who went last, he did a great job. So the TAPS annual night. So we've been doing it now for, this is the second time we've done it, so this is going to go on forever. It's the Teacher Academy Potential Students. So our TAM kids are amazing, and they are working in our elementary and middle schools, and they are identifying students who have that, who demonstrate that spark of being, who could become a teacher. And so they tap them. And then once they are tapped, they're invited to this evening where they get to hear from incredible students who are in the program, as well as the incredible teachers who are coordinating the program. And we're really trying to encourage people to consider the incredibly satisfying role of public school education. So Alicia Swan, our Teacher of the Year from Esperanza Middle School, brought words. They were beautiful. They were moving. They talked about her calling to come to teach, and then ultimately to being recruited down here through a very very close network way. It's great. Alex Williams, who you've heard multiple times, she's just an incredibly gifted young lady. She gave an overview of the TAM program. And then Javari Dove, who I had an opportunity to observe at Park Hall Elementary School in a kindergarten class. He was just amazing. He specifically was recognizing Mrs. Kuehl, who was his third grade teacher at Park Hall Elementary School when he was attending. And it was Miss Kuehl who really encouraged him and supported him and said, you should become a teacher. So he took the time to recognize her. She came out. It was really, really beautiful, and it reminds us that there's so many different ways to find inspiration and to inspire children to consider public education. And then senior Chelsea Stevens just gave an overview, and then they gave tours of the school. That's going to grow every single year. Ultimately, the objective is that third TAPS night will have 60 or 70 kids in there. Next, it'll ultimately be a gigantic room of people who are excited to become educators in St. Mary's County Public Schools. Really great stuff. Melissa Chu rocks. We had celebrations last week recognizing all of our staff, a beautiful event, and then we had a student recognition last night where we recognized over 150 students, and the accolades that were handed out are amazing. When you think that we have state champions in sports, 3-time state champions in female wrestling, that's amazing. There are 900,000 kids in public school in the state of Maryland, and if you win a state championship, that is really amazing. And so we had accolades for all. It was a great night. It'll be up on YouTube. I strongly encourage you to take a couple of minutes and watch them. They're great, both of them. Here we are in May. And we've got Thursday today and Thursday. Friday is another virtual day. We will have all of the principals sending out in their s'mores link to a survey. And we really want everybody to complete that survey. That means parents, that means staff members, and that means students. We really want to have a great representation of how the day went, because we're going to gather all that information. When we come back together later this month for the board meeting, we'll provide that data again, but we really we want to have a whole bunch of voices in that conversation about virtual days. Then we have a regular week. Well, actually, what else is important on that day? Then the week after that, we have the 19th. What's the significance of that, Manasa?
I don't know. It's my last day of school ever.
Public high school.
Public high school. It's my last day of public education ever.
We have all of our seniors
Public secondary.
having their last official instructional day as the 19th, and then we spend the next week recognizing them, doing award ceremonies, making sure that those who had not turned in all of their work turn in all of their work. Those who might have been absent, maybe they can come and make up some days. I don't know. Either way, it's a great week.
I'm really afraid that's me.
No, it is. All your absences were lawful.
Okay.
You were with me
All right.
for what, 24
Dr.
different...
Smith, my mom's freaking out. She's like, you're not going to graduate high school. I'm like, I don't know.
You were with the superintendent. We were visiting kids. It was great.
Okay.
It was wonderful. And then, of course, we have the 3-day weekend with Memorial Day, and then we get into commencements. Great Mills going first, Chopticon going second, Leonardtown going third. I need everybody to call in every favor that they possibly can with Mother Nature and just say, please. We have been really good this year. We have worked really hard this year. Please give us 3 days, first with no rain, and then with a temperature that doesn't scale into the mid-90s. If it just would stay like it is right now, oh my gosh, it'd be great. So we are rolling the dice. They are all outdoors. Right now, for these commencement exercises, the Tech Center is actually building, the kids from each one of the schools through the carpentry program of the Tech Center are building the stage upon which they will cross. Very, very cool, very neat thing. And then we get into May, and really that first week of May, that's the last week. By the 9th, we're done. All the kids are done. Everybody's done for the whole year. And then after that, 3 days later on the 14th, all the teachers are done. And the 27th for all 11-month employees. So we are very, 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 very close. We have about 20 days left with students attending, 20 instructional days left between now and the end of the school year. So let's make every one of them count. And as always, we want you to be part of the team. Go see www.smcps.org, hit the red button, and apply and become part of this great family. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our student member of the board.
Well, thank you. You guys have already heard from me this morning, but I wasn't at the last board meeting, and it was because it was senior night for my tennis team. So I do play tennis for Leonardtown High School, so that's been what's been taking up my time for the past 2 months. And we had SMAC this weekend, so just a little recap of that is that all 3 high schools from St. Mary's County did really well. So Leonardtown won because we win.
Yes.
You know. But then Great Mills and Chopticon both had a lot of players make it to like the top 4 of each category, so that's pretty cool. And in other news, the student recognition ceremony last night was very special to me because, as I said in my words last night, everyone's always focused on like what's happening next and what we're doing next year and blah 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 blah. But like sometimes students don't realize that they've already done really great things.
Oh my
so
gosh.
I'm glad that we got to recognize them for that. And yeah, a lot of my friends were up there. I was very excited. SMCPS has some incredibly talented and hardworking students, and all those kids worked really hard for those achievements. And I'd just like to say special shout out to Evergreen Elementary's math team because I was on that math team and they won again this
Yes,
year.
they did.
So-
They are a bit of a powerhouse.
yeah, we won my year too. You know, we take dubs only. But yeah, that's all I have this morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, then we will move right into our information items with Dr. Smith, Sheriff Steve Hall, I see him back there, and Mike Wyant and Charles Idle.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't know, is Dr. Moore here for phone a friend?
Every presenter is sitting back there like watching to see what is going to happen. They're the same
Help to the
problem
rescue.
as well.
Did you click the top?
This one?
Yeah, right there.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Very good. All right, good morning again. Very happy to be here this morning. A little bit bittersweet. This is going to be a little bit about the past and a whole lot about the future for schools, safety and security for St. Mary's County Public Schools. Extremely happy to have Sheriff Hall join us this morning. We are renewing our commitment, a long-term commitment that has been a wonderful relationship to partnership and collaboration for continued efforts to make sure that our schools are as safe as they possibly can be for our students and staff. We're going to do a real quick review. I think it's really important for the public to understand what we've been working on. We have been committed, as you all know, and you all have supported us 100%, and I thank you for that, to our strategic plan for school safety and security for a long time now, since at least 2008 when I joined here. This is our mission statement. We clearly know what our mission is. We work on that every day. Yesterday, beginning at 7:30 in the morning, I got a call from Sheriff Hall about a major accident on Point Lookout Road at Moakley Street, and I ended my evening, yesterday evening, with a phone call to Dr. Smith after several phone calls from the Sheriff's Office about a potential threat. So our work continues. It literally is 24 hours a day, and we take it very seriously. I'm just going to briefly talk about starting with the future, and thank you for supporting the 18 new safety and security assistants for our elementary schools. Those full-time positions are critical for us to be able to move forward. The sheriff will certainly speak to what his capacity is for law enforcement coverage for our schools, but these positions are needed to be full-time to make us competitive in the marketplace, accountability, and professionalism. Because of that, we are proposing, Dr. Smith and I have been working on this restructure for the department for next year. So this is just a screenshot of what it would look like. Of course, we can't have 40-plus staff members out in the field and not have adequate supervision. So one of the first things we needed to do was to adjust for supervisory oversight. So with that, we are going to be hopefully putting in place a supervisor for safety and security for elementary schools and one for secondary schools, and you can see from the chart how that flows down with the support. We take this commitment that you have made to us for those full-time positions very seriously, and I know the public has a high expectation, of course, given everything that has happened nationally with that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Charles Eibel, and Charles is going to review where we're at with sort of the strategic planning initiatives, our physical security infrastructure. So Charles?
Good. So our strategic plan takes a multi-layered approach, taking into account both the current state of affairs and potential for future considerations. So on the top, you'll see the security vestibule enhancements. So that basically is our closed campus concept, right? So when you walk into one of our schools, you will be stopped at the beginning at those vestibules for our safety assistants. You'll see the exterior door monitoring system, which allows them notification if an exterior door is open. There'll be a light indicating on the panel. Our visitor management system, which is our Raptor system, that's out here in the front also. So basically that makes it possible to monitor and track who enters the school buildings.
And just to emphasize, we have security vestibules, the construct in every building now. We are enhancing our security vestibules with, as Mr. Eibel has said, this closed campus concept and moving forward with that. So.
Our electronic access control, which again, so for all exterior doors allows for staff, law enforcement to enter. For the classroom door locks, that's something that is definitely fluid. Our locks on classroom doors are continually assessed as those teaching spaces in the buildings change. So we realize that maybe at one point a closet is now a teaching area, after our biannual building assessments that need to get done through the Maryland Center for School Safety, those door locks, or if a teacher or principal comes in and says, hey, can you come in and assess? We now have a room that is now a learning opportunity, and we think that we need a door lock. That's where we'll come in and change those door locks out. So our exterior laminate, interior laminate, basically what that does is buying time. We want to make sure that in the event of an emergency or that an assailant's trying to get into the school building, that our safety laminate, security laminate will buy time for law enforcement so that they cannot just make entry by smashing the window somehow. Our weapons abatement technology, that's something definitely that we are in the process of reviewing. We do have metal detecting wands at all of our schools, but the new technology that's out there is what we are after and what we will constantly evaluate to make sure that it is effective and then at a decent cost moving forward.
And there's been much discussion about this publicly lately about artificial intelligence and what they call brandished weapon detection, those kinds of things. And basically our camera systems, our new camera systems, are going to have the ability to recognize when a weapon is being carried openly. What we're focusing on is the concealed issue, to prevent the concealed carry of a weapon onto campus, and that is where this technology is evolving. So.
Radio communications, we have two sets of radio communications. One, obviously, that'll go right into directly to the 911 center, and then radio campus, which is basically the communication pieces that the schools use on a daily basis to communicate with each other, safety assistants, administrative staff. Our school emergency response plans, they're fluid. Our plans for school emergencies are reviewed and considered flexible and adaptable. We do work in conjunction with the I Love You Guys Foundation. Our response protocol is the building blocks of our crisis management. So, the I Love You Guys Foundation definitely is a big component of emergency management. I think it was probably about 2 years ago they came up with a new emergency platform is HOLD, you know, so we definitely, you know, we incorporated that into our emergency plans. So, again, they're fluid, constantly reviewed. Those plans do go up to the Maryland Center for School Safety for review on an annual basis. Law enforcement key cabinets, so that is something brand new. They just went in probably within the last month at all of our schools. So again, going back to that access control concept, the law enforcement can get in with their swipe of a key card, but once they're actually into the building, if the building is in lockdown, if they need to get into a classroom or a master lock, those key cabinets will be in the front center of those vestibules. They will have access. They will be able to get master key, classroom master key, and be able to open all the doors in the event of an emergency. Public address and technology, that is something that is going to be, you know,
Ongoing.
that is an ongoing opportunity for us to enhance that. But the biggest changes are with the direct contact to the 911 center for those new PA systems that are going in. So if there is an emergency, they hit the plunger on the wall, and then there's direct contact to the 911 center.
And 911 will be automatically dispatching our support from first responder community for whatever that situation may be, which is tremendous because, and I'm sure you're making the connections, but for public consumption, many of these things, the law enforcement key cabinet, right, that is a direct result of lessons learned from what happened in Texas.
Yep.
Window laminate, we were doing, I think 5 years ago or so now, Tennessee, right? We learned from Sandy Hook that was something that needed to be addressed. So, you know, we are as being proactive as we possibly can here at St. Mary's County Public Schools. What's happening and what we need to do to better or improve our plans as we move forward. And another relationship is with that 911 center for the EOC and the 911 center to agree to this is tremendous as well. Not going to be any questions asked. If lockdown button gets pushed, the cavalry is going to be sent. They're going to be on the way. So.
First aid stations at all of our schools, they all have the AED, stop the bleed, evacuation chairs. Future enhancement of that will be Narcan cabinets that will go in right near the AED. So you will have a total first aid station pretty much walking into every school. So just to give you an idea of how many cameras that we have on campus, so we have 968 lenses. So our new software platform, we just did an application yesterday to enhance our camera software. So the biggest thing with the federal grant that we just applied for yesterday basically is the enhancement of facial recognition, object detection. So if there is an incident, somebody's wearing, I can say, okay, camera, bring up everybody that is in this blue suit and just kind of follow them around the building where they went. So camera software technology is definitely changing, and we're hoping that that $500,000 grant that we applied for will definitely be a big component of us moving forward with better technology. Just some student outreach, young driver safety program. So if you were probably at one of our high schools within the last month, you probably saw a contingent of law enforcement with their citation books ready to rock and roll with seatbelt and distracted driving enforcement.
It's all electronic now, buddy. No more ticket
I'm
books.
dating
showing
myself
your
for
age.
ticket books, so that's all right. But yeah, so the second bullet point there, Travis Manion Foundation. That's something that we started at Spring Ridge Middle School. Principal Dunbar, I need to reach out and thank him. Definitely, the concept for the Travis Manion Foundation, we did put the link in there. It's all characteristic traits that the students can live and work by. But their big motto is, "Not if not me, then who?" Right, so Travis Mannion was a graduate of the Naval Academy, did 2 tours in Iraq, was killed in the second tour. Before heading to his second tour, family members were joking with him, they're at a Philadelphia football game, oh, if I, knock you down the stairs, you break your leg, you won't have to go. His response was, if I don't go, then somebody will have to take my place. So if not me, then who? We have a good contingent of 6 to 10 students that we work with every Tuesday. And again, just building those positive character traits. And I need to thank Andrea Young, our safety assistant, and Karen Rodriguez, our other safety assistant, for working with those students every Tuesday since March 7th. We've had ROTC come in from the Great Mills High School. We had Corporal Machete there last night. We have a fishing trip that we're going to do on the 23rd with the students. So it's, we're hoping to see that succeed and grow, and hopefully implement that, at more of the middle schools as we move forward. And then our school reporting forms, see something, say something. We have the Maryland Center for School Safety has their platform at the state level, and we have ours on our SMCPS website. So again, it's 24-hour monitoring response. So again, through the vector ticket platform, or if somebody does put in one of those, and again, that's what we're talking about for 24-hour monitoring through safety and security and notifying superintendent.
2 o'clock this morning, right, Mr. Wyatt?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 2 o'clock this
We
morning.
actually received a tip at 2 o'clock this morning.
Yep. And responded to a tip at 2 o'clock this morning.
So this is just, a glimpse of what takes place behind the scenes. It's a chance to give you an idea of how we have grown in our process of vetting people who work for St. Mary's County Public Schools in some capacity. So again, you can see the numbers have grown tremendously. So that's our fingerprinting process for anybody that is going to work within the school district. And then obviously we have over 4,500 of our volunteer platform that have been vetted through our system.
And then with that, we're going to let Sheriff Hall talk about his plan for law enforcement support, right?
Well, it's amazing sitting here and looking at what has happened just in my career. Unfortunate circumstances and the things that we've seen. I mean, there is no excuse for not being prepared. Under the leadership of this board, and you, Dr. Smith, and Mike, and now Charles, the preparation that has gone on is simply amazing. Our part of it is to make sure that we have a physical presence in all the schools, especially the secondary schools, but my aim is to have them in all the schools so that people like this amazing young lady here can spend her time while she's at school and school-related activities, learning, growing, and most importantly, being safe. I would love to maybe do a little offshoot and start tapping into some of these kids that would be great police officers and correctional officers as well. That's a great program, so maybe I can put Machete on that. So
Other duties is the sign.
the SRO program has always been one of our the jewels in our crown. I think we have great people doing it. They're there for the right reasons because they care, they believe in the mission. Obviously promotion and people that are taking advantage of the county's great retirement system is consistently being a challenge, but with every challenge there's an opportunity, and we have recommitted ourselves to the Adopt a School program to put people in direct connection with the children that are in the elementary schools, volunteer based now, but I think their presence is very, very important for them to know the police officers, have a personal relationship with them at the earliest age we can, and maybe, just maybe, see themselves in those amazing people that do that work. This MOU is so much more than a signature. It is a commitment to the people of this community, to you all, and most importantly to the students in our public schools.
And with that, we can talk about SPO commissions, but superintendent has the authority to commission officers for St. Mary's County Public Schools. He has done so in the past. Both Mr. Eibel and I are SPOs for St. Mary's County Public Schools. We plan to continue that process. The threat assessment work is tremendous, but Cheryl Long and Robin Schrader have done to support us every week. Commitment, Audrey Ellis, we all get together, and most importantly, a sergeant from the St. Mary's County Sheriff's Office, who has an office right adjacent to ours, attends those meetings as needed to help us with coordination to make sure that we're addressing any potential threat or risk to our buildings. And as Sheriff Hall said, these MOUs are very, very important. They're not only required in law, but they've also been, we've been doing these before the Safe to Learn Act of 2018. So today is a really big day for us because we're going to sign the MOU for law enforcement services and special law enforcement programs, and then also a renewal commitment for the Adopt a School program. So with that, Dr. Smith, I'll turn it over to you and Sheriff Paul.
Absolutely, let's go.
And while you're signing, I just want to say I do serve on the advisory board for the School Safety Commission and have since it was enacted in 2018. So of everyone across the state, St. Mary's County has always been in the forefront, and especially with this MOU program, right? Under, started years ago with Sheriff Cameron, and I have always held it up in my meetings as the gold standard because not everyone has a complete and thorough MOU such as what we do. So,
Absolutely.
sign away, gentlemen.
We're going to go over here, we're going to sit down and sign. And for the purposes of a fantastic photo, it would be ideal if the board flanked behind us. I've been staging photos for the last 2 weeks. Oh my God! Well, there were a lot of people. All right.
And take a picture quick because I know that cops don't like anyone around them. So, find them.
Swap. And we shake hands. Very nice.
Okay.
Thank
We'll
you.
get
All right.
Thank you, Sheriff. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Sheriff
board
Hall.
members.
Thanks, Mike. Congrats again. Thanks for everything.
It's got this full copy on. Okay, so now we will move into recognitions. So first up we have Ms. Kate Weaver with the Pupil Personnel Workers.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It is my pleasure to be here today this morning with our 9 pupil personnel workers to recognize them and share in expressing appreciation for them during PPW Appreciation Week. The theme this year is Breaking Down Barriers. PPWs support families, students, and school staff. They work closely with our community partners to support and eliminate barriers for students and families, such as those living in poverty, challenged by homelessness, experiencing mental health challenges, trauma, and living in foster care. This coordination of services had led to continuing students to their ongoing learning opportunities and to address a multitude of issues impacting the academic success of our youth. PPWs make connections and build relationships to improve our community. This work would not be possible without the help of our school personnel and, equally important, our community partners. At this time, I would like to invite the PPWs, I'll call your name, to join me up here to recognize them for all of their hard work. First, Lisa Galati. She is our PPW at Esperanza Middle School, Piney Point Elementary School, and Evergreen Elementary School. Grace Baker. She supports George Washington Carver Elementary and is our district-wide Spanish-speaking PPW. Courtney Town supports Margaret Brent Middle School, Dinard Elementary School and Oakville Elementary School. Kim Milletz supports Letty Marshall Dent Elementary School, Mechanicsville, Hollywood, and White Marsh. Elizabeth Foote, she is our court liaison, and she also supports Town Creek Elementary, Chesapeake Charter, Fairlead, and the Tech Center. Annette Wood supports Great Mills High School, Ridge Elementary, and Lexington Park Elementary. Melissa Sigmund supports Leonardtown High and Leonardtown Middle. Jamie Walker supports Green Holly, Duke, and Greenview Knolls. And last but not least is Kim McElgott. She supports Chapticon and Benjamin Banneker. So in recognition of all of our PPWs, I would like to invite Dr. Smith to come up and share the resolution.
And then we're going to be really great. All right. Whereas Wednesday, May 10th, 2023 has been designated as Pupil Personnel Worker Day in St. Mary's County Public Schools, and whereas pupil personnel workers are recognized for serving our students, promoting the opportunities for every child to experience a safe and healthy environment, and whereas pupil personnel workers are specialists trained to consider and assess the needs of the total child and serve as the school's liaison with the family, community organization, and social agencies to foster the child's physical, psychological, social, and intellectual growth, and whereas pupil personnel workers work collaboratively with resources of the home, school, and community essential to the good mental, emotional, and physical health of each child necessary to advance effective teaching, learning, and achievement in schools, and whereas pupil personnel workers play a unique and essential role in the personal and academic development of our students. These dedicated professionals do an outstanding job nurturing the growth, maturity, and responsibility that adulthood and good citizenship require. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of St. Mary's County recognizes May 10, 2023 as Pupil Personnel Worker Day in St. Mary's County, and all staff and students are encouraged to recognize this event and participate in its observance. Congratulations, and thank you very much for everything that you do every single day for all of our children. Let's forward a little bit.
I'm gonna move.
What do I have to have? Right? Oh, there's
Turn. Wait, turn and squish.
I'm moving.
watch out, like grapes.
I'm moving.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And we will move with Tammy Metcalf and School Nurse Day. Our next recognition.
Lisa, Grace, Courtney, Kim, Elizabeth, Annette, Melissa, Jamie, and Kim. Need to remember to send emails there.
Good morning. Today is National School Nurse Day, and I am honored to have several of our school nurses here with me representing the SMCPS Health Services team. We have Lauren Hall from Leonardtown High School, Tammy Flanagan, who is one of our float nurses, Wendy Stabnow from Chapticon High School, and Catherine Robeson from Leonardtown Middle School. We also had Rachel Cromwell, who is one of our sub-nurses, but she had to run to a commitment, so. I would like to take a moment to celebrate our amazing team of dedicated and compassionate nurses. I read that on average, a doctor sees 3 and a dentist sees 2 patients per hour. Our school nurses are each averaging 4 student visits per hour. This year so far, our nurses have completed over 140,000 visits and have administered over 30,000 doses of medication to our students. Our nurses are always ready to serve the school community, from a scrape on the knee to managing chronic illnesses. Our devoted group of healthcare professionals, to include our substitute nurses and LPNs, work tirelessly to protect and promote student health and advance academic success. They provide countless hours of case management and student mentoring, as well as student, staff, and community education, not to mention the inordinate amount of paperwork that they are required to complete to ensure we remain in compliance with required laws and regulations. I would like to extend my sincerest gratitude and appreciation to our awesome team of school nurses. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite Dr. Smith to read the resolution.
All right. Did I leave one? Oh, hopefully I'm smarter than I thought. Whereas May 10th, 2023 has been designated as School Nurse Day in St. Mary's County, and whereas school nurses have served a critical role in improving public health and ensuring student academic success for more than 120 years, and whereas school nurses are professional nurses that advance the well-being, academic success, and lifelong achievements of all students by providing a critical safety net for our children. And whereas school nurses act as a liaison to the school, community, families, and healthcare providers on behalf of children's health by promoting wellness and improving health outcomes for our children. And whereas school nurses support the health and educational success of children and youth by providing access to care when children's cognitive development is at its peak. And whereas school nurses are members of school-based teams providing care coordination to address the school population. And whereas school nurses understand the link between health and learning and are in a position to make a positive difference for children every day. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of St. Mary's County recognizes May 10th, 2023 as School Nurse Day in St. Mary's County Public Schools, and that all staff and students are encouraged to recognize this event and participate in its observance. Signed today. So everybody should go see their school nurse today. Let's get a picture. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we have no public hearing this morning. Any public comment?
Yeah, please.
Sarah Penrod.
Okay.
May you have a lovely day.
All right.
Sorry, Sarah.
We'll let them get out just for a minute. And I'll give you my abbreviated version.
Is that
You know,
the
rules
groom's
of public-
side? Is that the which side is the bride's side? Is that the bride's side? You're on the bride's side? The groom just
Yeah.
depopulated.
All right. You got the public hearing rules. 3 minutes. Go ahead.
All right, Sarah Penrod, president of EastMIG, and I'm here today because of Educator Appreciation Week. And we tend to hear it called Teacher Appreciation Week, but I disagree with that because, as we all know, our support staff is just as important as our teachers. And we at EastMIG, we consider all staff here in the school system, from teachers to building service workers, our school nurses, we're all educators in one way or another because we're working with children. But you know, while saying things is nice and needed, our educators need more than that, and they deserve so much more than just a thank you a couple times a year. They deserve a reduced workload, increased salaries and smaller class sizes, support from administration, and they deserve to feel valued and respected by the community, students' parents, and the school board. And they deserve to be trusted to do the jobs which they are highly trained and skilled to do. We can't thank educators today with a friendly smile and then post on Facebook tomorrow implications that we don't trust our educators to choose basic things like curriculum materials for the students. Appreciation needs to happen every single day, not just a few days a year. Luckily, in my opinion, we are in the best county in Maryland, and based on my personal experience, we're in a district that values its staff and works collaboratively with its association to make sure our staff feel appreciated and supported every single day. And if not, then they need to let me know because I know Dr. Smith's phone number.
Yes, you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any more public comment? Okay. All right, then may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Today's consent agenda consists of the approval of minutes for April 26, 2023, personnel teachers, personnel administrative and supervisory, special education, RFP, SMCPS 2023, SECS, contract services, multiple awards, and HVAC refrigeration equipment and parts, Airco Supply Incorporated. With that, I move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and we are moving on our action items. So our first item is now the social studies textbook adoption presentation with Mr. Wright, Ms. Iswar.
Sorry.
I've never been on this side before.
Never been on this side?
No, it's freaking me out.
We'll be fine. Hold on, let me get the right one.
No.
There we go.
Yep.
There we go. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Monica and I are here to seek your approval for adoption and purchase of instructional resources for the AP American Government textbook course. Instructional resources include a textbook, as well as the document reader and online resources for every single student, as well as instructional resources to support the classroom teacher. Now, to put this in context, we initially purchased the current textbook that was approved by the board before 2000, and then we bought updated editions in 2015. Then in 2018-19 school year, the AP College Board modified their curriculum, and where in particular they advanced or focused more on disciplinary literacy skills and reformatted the assessments. And then more recently, in 2021 and 2022, they have made minor adjustments, in particular with quantitative analysis, as well as qualitative analysis with visual sources, and making some minor adjustments with the assessment. At that time, we decided to revisit our current textbook, and it was decided to go through a textbook adoption process. Now, when you're looking at the textbook the adoption process, it's very robust process. It takes 7 to 10 months, as defined when you're looking at policy and regulation IJ, because it includes multiple stakeholders in that process. We initially started with between the months of, as you can see, between October and December, AP American Government teachers who have combined experience of over 30 years teaching that particular course, reviewed and evaluated 5 textbooks. And when they made their during that selection process, they used criteria to narrow it down to 2 textbooks. In particular, they looked at content and alignment, organization and presentation, instructional design, assessments, as well as equity and accessibility. After that period of time, over those couple months, they narrowed it down to 2 textbooks. And at that time, we expanded the number of stakeholders starting in February, and those stakeholders included school-based administrators, parents, as well as the student member of the board who was selected by the St. Mary's Association of Student Council president. During the month of February, 2 finalists presented to the committee. And then at the same time, we use criteria to make the recommendation. The criteria was the same except for the parents and the student, where they focused on, in particular, alignment, content alignment, looking at organization and presentation, as well as equity and accessibility. And over those month, like I said, there was an open forum, there was discussion with all the stakeholders. And then in March, we met again, and at that time we had open dialogue looking at the merits of the book, and then each committee member put forth a vote. And the recommendation is the textbook that was in front of you. And at that time of that recommendation, the materials was shared with the Division of Instruction, and that consisted of the department, the Director of Curriculum Instruction, Deputy Superintendent, and the Superintendent and that was shared on the week of March 27th through April 13th. And at that time, on April 14th, a press release was submitted to the community, and the community was encouraged to review those particular items at the 3 public libraries as well as online. Materials were on display between April 14th through April 21st, and the materials were removed at the end of business on April 21st, and there was no public comment from the community. So as you can see, this is a very extensive process, and the process that we adhere to was, like I said, was in policy and regulations, IJ. And also just want to comment, we actually exceeded the policy by including a student on that committee, as well as displaying the materials online. And I do want to publicly commend Manasa for her hard work and effort that she put into that process. She attended every single meeting. She challenged the members on the board with their questions, as well as asking questions to each of the publishers. So I think she did. She advocated on behalf of the 17,000 students that she represents. So well done. Thank you. Thank you.
And I'd like to say the reason that I was on this board is because I have taken this course before. So that was the qualification.
Like I said, like I mentioned, throughout the decision-making process, we use criteria that consist of looking at content alignment, organization presentation, instructional design, equity and accessibility, and assessments. And like I said, that these are just images of the 2 textbooks that every student will have access. One is looking at content, and the other one is what we call foundational documents and court case reader. And those are required of students to know for that particular course. Now we just kind of want to go over some of the highlights of the textbook. One of the things I'll start off with is looking at the alignment. The textbook directly aligns to the AP curriculum framework. When you're looking at the chapters are in the same order as the framework that is established, and even more importantly, that was brought to my attention by the teachers, is that when you're looking at social policy, it's integrated throughout the course, and it's the same way that the textbook is designed. So it mirrors the approaches that the classroom teachers use when they're teaching that particular course.
Can I just make one point? So just so everyone understands, the AP coursework and the alignment is not directed by us. It is under the guidance of the College Board.
Yes,
Because they are
yes.
the ones that are issuing, we issue grades, but they are the ones that are administering the final test,
Yes.
which will provide you with a score that then you can use for college credit.
Yes.
So everything that is within these books is aligned with what the College Board has in their curriculum to teach.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Okay, so it might be a little interesting that there are 2 books in front of you instead of 1, but the second second book is much smaller because it is the Foundational Documents Reader. And the reason that is an important and kind of unique approach to this course is because AP American Government has a certain list of foundational documents and required Supreme Court cases that are on the screen at the moment that students have to memorize, essentially, and they have to know them completely because they have to be able to apply them to certain situations that will come up in the exam. And the cool thing about having it in a separate book is that they won't have to, flip through the entire textbook to try to find the location in the units where it is, and rather they can just flip straight to that document. And so I think that is a very cool addition because when I took this course, this is not how it was, and you did have to find it just somewhere in the book. Yes, those documents are integral to the course. You could not complete the course successfully without knowing all of those documents and all of those cases very well. So this court cases reader also has some information about each court case and about each document that kind of helps the students analyze it. So it's both a resource for the documents themselves, and it's also a resource for if students would like to use it to study or to check their understanding as well. So, yeah. And then the one aspect that we talked about when we were choosing a textbook was organization and presentation of the information, because that is very important when it comes to how well a student can grasp what they're looking at. So some cool things that this textbook does organizationally is it has, number one, as you can see, it has AP tips like sprinkled throughout the textbook. And what that essentially is it's pulling things that are straight from that big like 90-page document that is the entire course description for AP Government, and it's saying right here in this section, here's an AP tip that's relevant to that, because pay attention to this, it's on the test, it's on the exam. So that's really cool, because knowing exactly what they're going to expect is very helpful for students when they're taking an AP course, especially for, in St. Mary's County Public Schools, AP U.S. Government is often the first AP class that a student will take during their sophomore year of high school. So things like this that make it more accessible are very, very important. And then secondly, as you can see, there are pop-up definitions for different words or documents or kind of unfamiliar things that are in the textbook. And in the physical textbook, they are in the margins. So instead of having to flip to a glossary, if you see a word you don't know, you can literally look to the margin and the definition will be right there, and that is very helpful. And then what is on the screen right now is an example of what it is in the digital textbook, and with that you just hover over the word and then a definition will pop up, like just there. And then lastly, at the end of each section, because each section within each chapter is kind of split off, at the end of each section there's a review, and this has AP style questions and just kind of a summary of what they just read, which is super helpful as a studying tool and also just as a comprehension tool for students to be able to summarize what they just read. So there are a lot of organizational aspects of this textbook that will be helpful for students to make sure that all they're focused on is the content rather than trying to find things and trying to be able to understand what they're reading. So, yeah.
Just want to talk about briefly teacher resources when you're looking at for AP support. The teacher resources directly align what we call Teacher Performance Assessment System, or TPAS. For examples, when you're looking at examples 1, 2, and 3, they reinforce the importance of using disciplinary literacy skills to help students construct their content knowledge, which is a huge component when you're looking at alignment for TPAS. And again, it goes back to the document readers, that students are looking at those particular sources to build their understanding when you're looking at the governmental process. In addition, example 4, we currently use AP Classroom as an instructional tool. And one of the things with this particular textbook that is sprinkled throughout is reminding teachers how to make the connection between the textbook and the AP Classroom. And that's a huge part because it shows an example where both resources are interlocked with each other. Now, some important things that they're complementing our current resources as adding to that. Again, just another example where everything is, when you're looking at alignment, that examples 1 and 2 really stress the idea is using universal design for learning practices, where aspects of it, and the idea of collaborative learning and independent research. And the other importance is reinforcing the concept of disciplinary literacy skills, applying Supreme Court cases to novice cases aspect of it, and also stressing the importance of using simulations like committee hearings as part of that process.
And then another really cool thing about this textbook is the ebook option. One, you can download the entire book to your computer, which is really helpful. A kid might be spending an entire Saturday at a soccer tournament, they can still read their AP Gov textbook. And other features of it, it has a note-taking feature where you can highlight things and put notes in the margin, and the notes will be saved. Like, it's not just there when you're on that textbook this time. It'll save it. You can download your notes. You can print your notes. Some kids like to do that for tests, if they have open note tests. Some kids like to do that so that they can continue their notes during class. And there is a practice in critical thinking project feature that you can see kind of at the bottom of the screen. And it's essentially, there's just a lot of opportunities for the students to interact with the textbook. So it's not just like a PDF, it's not just a book that they're looking at. You can interact with the different multimedia like options that are on the platform. And then one thing that was really important to me when we were choosing this book is the accessibility features that it has. There is an audiobook option, so you can listen to this book, which is a lot better for some students because some students may have a hard time reading all the time. So audiobooks are a really great opportunity for those kids to do that. And then that is also just another highly accessible option for students with different disabilities as well. And there's also, you can adjust the font size in the virtual textbook, and you can adjust the colors and the line height. So there's actually one font that is specifically made for it to be easier to read for someone who has dyslexia. So that is just really, really incredible that they have that opportunity or that option because oftentimes these higher level classes can be made more daunting by the excessive reading that's in them. So this kind of mitigates that a little bit. And the color mode thing can be helpful for students who have color blindness. And there's just a slew of accessibility features on this textbook that make it, that make sure, again, that what the students are focused on is the content and learning the content and not worry about these barriers that have to do with reading a book. So.
If the book is approved, there's professional development that is scheduled for August 17th, which is our system-wide PD day. And they would either be in a virtual setting or within St. Mary's County.
Okay. And so this is just a summary of the total costs for this adoption. And so the total cost would be $88,055.21. Wow, I've never said a number that big before. That's really weird. But yeah, so this would cover student textbooks, student document readers, and that's for every single student who takes this course will receive a textbook and a document reader. And then this also covers teacher resources and the interactive online textbook for a 6-year license. So that's really cool. It'll be from now until almost 2030. So, whoa, that's great. But yeah, so that is that. And then we'd just like to thank all the stakeholders that were involved in this process because it was a very collaborative process choosing this textbook with teachers, parents, admin, and myself as well. So our recommendation is that the Board of Education approve this agenda item as presented.
Questions, Jim?
No questions. Thank you.
First, great job. I know it takes a lot of time to build and try to find the right book. However, fun fact, history doesn't change. It's people's attitude that changes. Like what somebody is, how the atmosphere of the writing of the new history book is, could be swayed by words. And the reason why, what brought my attention, because I spent a lot of time with this. And I guess the first thing I noticed was Supreme Court Justice with Roe v. Wade. So my first attitude, my little bunny ears went up and I said, oh, I wonder what they're going to be saying about that. So I went through and I tried to, find out, what they were going to be discussing about it, because when Roe v. Wade, which is 50 years of horrific bloodshed on our land, is my attitude, but to somebody else's it's not. But how it all started was, it wasn't a baby. until the sonogram came out and it was debunked. So I couldn't find anything to look at it, but I did eventually yesterday. Now, I would have just been not approving it because I believe that sometimes conviction is also at play when you're approving something, because your conscience is also important. I know this is a little choppy, but you know what? I got 4 years, so this is going to be coming a little bit smoother as I'm talking, so bear with me. My mouth's getting dry, but I do want to just share something. God puts everybody in positions for reasons. And so the Roe v. Wade did bother me, but I get it. You're looking at Supreme Court decisions and how they're made and what they wrote, no problem. But I did find chapter 7 online. And chapter 7, page 228, it was the iron triangles and issues networks. The quote is, the bureaucracy, Congress, and interest groups, each of which works with the other two to achieve their shared policy goals, even if achieving those goals run counter to the general interests of society. And as I read that, and I went, that's democracy. Yes, there are elements in our Constitution that are democratic, but that our country is based on a republic. And James Madison, which you will read in the articles, they wrote the Federalist Papers. He's one of the writers. You have to make a distinction between democracy, which he didn't favor, from a republic, which he did. It's a critical advantage of republicanism is to refine the public views by passing them through the medium of a chosen body of citizens whose wisdom may best discern the true interests of the country. And that's why I can't approve of this, is because I feel that I'm looking, yes, I won't be here, my children won't be here. I'm looking for the freedoms that we're losing down the road, and I want to keep them. So with that said, I felt that the book was a little biased. I just felt that the stuff that I read in that one chapter, it bashed President Trump. Some of the stuff was too early to write anything about the election of 2020. There were just some other things that I just didn't agree with it. But great job, and it looks like it would be perfect. I know you have to go through a lot. I thank you for your time, and I just hope you understand that sometimes conviction, and that's how I think Roe v. Wade should have been voted on way back 50 years ago. It's killing a baby. You know, that's just my opinion. So, thank you. All that said, thank you.
So, I read the books over the weekend, and I think, so first of all, my daughter took this course, and she did not have the benefit of these books because she was in, I think it was 2018, 2019, so we ended up buying a book because the book that we had no longer aligned with the AP government. As a parent whose child has gone through this course, I think that our instructors do an excellent job in presenting both sides of the situation, right? There are, and Monica, you can add this because you were at a different high school than what Helen was. You know, there are very active discussions. I think the assignments encourage the students in order to look at both sides of the issue. The discussions during the class, because at this point our children are 15, 16, 17 years old, and they're beginning to formulate their own opinions of things. And I think that the space that is given to those students to discuss what their issues are or what their views are, I think is very well done by all of the teachers there. And in looking through these books, I think the Supreme Court decisions that are in here are extremely factual, and I'm not an attorney, but as to exactly what, what the court decided, what the opinions were, what the majority opinion was, what the minority opinion was. I think it's very complete. Specifically on the Iron Triangles and Issue Network, that's all dealing with how the interest groups, Congress, and the bureaucracy all interact together, right? And it does say, it does point out that within this triangle, you will have, differing sides, but that's the whole beauty of our system, is that there's always a chance for everyone's other side to be heard. So, as I said before, the curriculum within these AP courses is not dictated by the state, nor is it dictated by us. It's aligned in order to have our children be successful on those exams, right? And then to eventually earn college credit. And I think in all of the AP classes that my daughter has been through, which was AP Government, AP World, and then, various science ones, I think that those teachers did strive in order to ensure that all sides of an issue was presented. So I will commend our instructors on that. And I'm very happy that they don't have to buy books anymore. So, my other questions were on the actual physical books. How much do you think that the children are truly going to actually use a physical book? And the students, I shouldn't call them children, but then the only reason I say that is because once you get to college, everything is digital. So I'm not saying we shouldn't buy hard copies of the books, but when we with the 6-year license, do we have specific seats, or do we have to renew those seats do they expire after every year?
No,
Okay.
We have it for
So we have 100 seats for the next
Yes.
6 years, or whatever the number is. Okay. And then I would I honestly will be very curious as to how many students actually use this physical book or use it online, as Monica has described, because that, I believe, is what the trend is.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. I definitely think it depends on the student. Personally, I like physical textbooks, but I know a lot of my peers do not. So there are still students who exist in either way. So I think it's nice that they have the option to choose at the moment. So. Yeah.
Oh no, right? I completely agree.
definitely.
I'm just thinking going forward as we continue to buy textbooks, especially and not to pigeonhole anyone, but typically your AP students are the ones that are going on to to higher education. So if maybe we don't necessarily need we still need an actual physical book, but we might not need as many.
So when you go to college, do they make you buy textbooks?
No, I have to buy an online version
License?
of it. Mm-hmm.
They don't provide the textbook as well?
No.
Because I've seen instances where they'll charge you for both. So.
Nope.
I don't know.
So-
I haven't gotten there yet.
And we'll see if you do.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll email you, Dr. Smith. I had to get a physical textbook. But yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, that's definitely
they're pretty much online. I mean, they still cost as much.
Oh yeah, no, without a doubt.
Definitely.
So, but
I'm old. I like books.
I agree. I'm just saying. So, all right, Mrs. Washington.
I want to thank you for the tremendous amount of work that went into coming up, narrowing it down to one textbook. You had many meetings. You had a representative from the county. You had parents. You had our student board member, who is an excellent representative. And you discussed the textbook, went through a whole lengthy process. It wasn't an easy process. The books were put on display at the 3 public libraries for a week, I believe, for the citizens to review those books, and they could give comments one way or the other about what they feel, so there were opportunities for comments. It's a lot of work that was involved, and I thank you both and the people who served on the committee to narrow it down to one book that meets the needs of most of the people in the county and meet the requirements that are required, so the students, when they take the AP exam, they can be assured somewhat of being highly successful or making a good score that will be accepted by the college to which they will apply. So I want to thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I I was really struck by the fact that I know that throughout the time that I've been on the board, the point of going to foundational, original primary documents has been key to everything. Not necessarily accepting what's put out in the press, what's written in the paper, what they're hearing on the street, but rather going to the source, and the importance of going to the source and making sure that what you think it says, it actually says. So I really love the fact that the foundational documents and the court case reader is a part of what you're bringing forward. And I'm gonna, based on my children's experience, but I'm gonna go to something that Mrs. Penrod spoke about just a short while ago. And that is the talent and strength of our teachers and the training that our educational professionals receive that were to ensure that they're presenting material in the most straightforward, appropriate way for each student, meeting them where they are. The opportunity for students to have conversations about these various topics, I think, is a key part of learning to have those conversations in safe spaces, to work through your point of view and understand where that fits into all of the picture. And that's certainly, long ago when I was in high school, that's what we endeavored to achieve is, as a cornerstone of democracy, the understanding of being able to develop a point of view and to articulate that point of view. And I think that's one of the strengths of this board is we all have the opportunity to share our thoughts, to ask our questions, to make our points. So I very much appreciate the depth and breadth you went to, Mr. Wright, in bringing together a group of people, both those wonderfully trained teachers who have experience teaching this course, but also parents and a student. I hope that in the future we may want to go back to that particular policy and make sure that we actually institutionalize that, because that has always, as long as I've been on the board, has always been a point we've made, is making sure that we include students on so many of these committees because it affects them. What we're doing affects them, and having their voice there is, I think, critical to making sure that we're meeting their needs. So thank you for bringing this forward. I trust our teachers, and I know a lot of the teachers who are teaching this course, and it is close to their heart. You don't undertake teaching an AP course with all of the work that's involved, especially when you have in front of you such talented and engaging students who are so vested in learning the material. The ability to stay one step ahead of them sometimes can be a challenge. But I know our teachers are up to it. So thank you for bringing this forward. I'm glad we're going to be able to update these books. A lot has happened to focus on these foundational documents.
Yeah. And I would just, our teachers don't teach kids what to think. Correct. They teach kids how to think. And that's the key of everything that we do. We're not, you're teaching children how to take information, primary sources, foundational documents, and synthesize that to their own internal learning and beliefs and all of that. How to think. I love the Iron Triangle. I think there's a lot to be learned from that. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, at the same time, I mean, it just having a teenager, now freshman and college student, they all have very definite ideas of what, of what their opinions are, right? And this class gives that opportunity for them to share it, respectfully. But there is not a teacher standing at the front of the room reading a manifest that everyone has to, agree with, right? I mean,
Well, not in there.
listening to my daughter recap her discussions in some of these, classes is, it's not different from what adults do, right? And I think that's a huge credit to our students, that because you as a student right now at this age have been exposed to so much more than what we were at this same age. So maybe I did sit there and listen to that manifest and didn't, all I had was, whatever they read to me. But that's not the case now, because you have you have a much bigger world that's open to you.
Yes.
To garner your own opinions and arguments. So, okay, with that, may I have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the adoption of the AP American Government and Politics textbooks from Bedford, Freeman, and Worth Publishers in the amount of $88,055.21 as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
All right, the motion is carried. And with that, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we will now move to the press box replacement at Great Mills High School. Ms. Leano.
Ms. Leano, thank you for your patience.
Yes, sir.
She was so excited. She was like, I'm going to be up and out. And then we've given her an hour and a half of good stuff. And you probably need to,
I don't know, what time is it?
it's
It's
10:22.
10:20.
Do not,
like an hour.
all right. I want you to be in a clear headspace. Come on. It's chemistry. All right.
Good. Yeah, I'll stay until like 11-ish.
No, it should be back. It's up at the top. No, yes, I got you.
Oh, right there.
That's good.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am back with another press box request for a replacement, this time for Great Mills High School. The request is to approve or award a contract in the amount of $250 to Vantage Stadium Systems, LLC, and $33,000 for construction contingency to provide and install a pre-manufactured press box at Great Mills Chopticon School Stadium Field. Why are we doing this? The conditions of the press box, the existing conditions, are really showing deterioration beyond being able to be fixed. A lot of aging, water damage inside, windows don't work, ceiling, wall, floor, all it's showing its age. We don't have a very good date on it, but we do think it was installed during the installation of the stadium, which was prior to 1998. That's the history we have right now. And with the current press box, it's located lower than what we would like to have a press box, and also doesn't have the access to the deck that we like to for videotaping our games. How this how we use this field. We use it for students, staff, community. We use it for sports. We use them for fine arts, marching band. We do it for all the athletics events that happened in our beautiful turf stadium, and we use them for assemblies, classes, and community programs too. So this press box will be touching many students, the community in Great Mills, and will be very beneficial for all. how we came to this, we got sponsored by state delegate Brian Crosby, and we got the support from our state senator Jack Bailey to put out a grant to get $100,000 to help us fund this project. We did the same situation last year or a couple years ago for Chopticon, and we found out that it was a very good way to get our money stretched and be able to get this project going. $50,000 local Senate and House delegate, each of them would approved already $50,000. We will show here a detail of how we'll be funding this project. $100,000 comes from the grant, and the rest of it, which is $234,650, comes from unrestricted funds. And how we will be spending it is $21,500. It's needed for all the preliminary investigation, structural design, in order to determine what's the foundation that needs to be done in order to bring the new press box. New press box will be bigger in size, so we needed to upgrade the structure of it and higher too. So, and then $280,100. It's for the construction, and we always like to add a little bit of contingency because we always can't predict unknowns. Demolition, the scope and the timeline here will start with the demolition of the structure. We will add 3 new footers under the press box on piers. The press box will be supported on the new understructure that we'll be providing, and it's going to be the same size as the one in Chopticon, a 10 by 24 press box, which will be set higher for better view. And we are hoping to do this after fall season ends. We had already working with a designer to go and do the preliminary investigation and all the design that needs to be done, numbers, calculations in order to come up with the footings. If awarded this contract, then we will provide with the fabrication of the press box, which takes about 12 weeks and gets us on time early enough to plan after fall sports. I added some pictures of the interior of how it would look. These are pictures from Chopticon. It shows how well designed it is inside. It shows how well designed it is on the roof deck. Has all the security, safety amenities for our students. If we decide to let anybody there, we have for the video camera personnel. You know, we are always concerned that we want to be up to code and have all the security amenities to access that roof deck. The selection and procurement, we use the same contractor that provided the one in Chopticon to Vantage Stadium, which is the Eastern Territory sales for Dan Clayton, which is a very well-known contractor to provide equipment for stadiums, bleachers, seating, and press box. The contract with them is valid until the end of December of 2023, and they offer us a 1-year warranty, which is very common in the industry for a press box. And at this time, I want that the Board of Education approve this agenda item as presented, and I am open for questions.
I have no questions, thank you.
Jim?
Water damage. Do you have a membrane roof on there now?
It does. It's a pre-engineered one, but the water damage comes from everywhere. It's not just from the roof. The new press box will have a membrane, and it's designed to be walkable on it for videotaping. Mm-hmm. The one that we have right now doesn't have anything, but you could see it throughout that it's not just coming from above, it's coming from deteriorating windows, and it's just
It's not a maintenance issue, it's just, it needs replacement.
It needs replacement, yes, sir.
Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Did you say it's the same company that did Chopticon? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
I'm just happy you're going to raise it, because when you sit in that top bleacher, if you're really tall, which I don't have that problem, but some people do, they
That
can't
blocks
see
it,
out
yeah.
the window because your head's in the way. So, good plan. Others who are with me might have that problem, but not me.
Me either.
Go ahead, Mrs. Washington.
Well, thank you very much. I want to thank State Delegate from 29B, Brian Crosby, and supported by State Senator Jack Bailey to get the legislative bond initiative to get this project done. You can tell that it needed to be done, and I appreciate both elected officials in working together to get that done for Great Mills High School. And I know the students, the staff, and the community will be better for having a new facility added. Thank you.
I'm just pleased we're going to be able to do this. So thank you for bringing it forward, and I certainly appreciate both Mr. Crosby and Mr. Bailey for helping us through this. So,
Okay.
that's all.
May I have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the contract award to Vanchit Stadium System LLC in the amount of $280,150 and a construction contingency in the amount of $33,000 to provide and install a pre-manufactured press box at the Great Mills High School Stadium field.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's
You know,
see.
I do have one question. Did the A&E services, we've already paid for that?
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, let's see, Ms. Bachner and Ms. Consalvo with our middle school scheduling.
I'm glad you could stay for this because
Yeah.
I think this is one you wanted to.
This is what I want to. Actually, I just want to be here the whole time. I just physically can't.
I know.
after a certain
I
point.
understand completely. It's more important for you to go to that test.
All right. Good morning, board members. I'm Jen Consalvo, the principal at Esperanza Middle School. We are bringing to you today a request for funding for middle school scheduling consultation services. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about our background. Per Dr. Smith's request, we reconvened a middle school task force and held our first meeting back in September of this year. And there was representatives of all the stakeholders for this meeting, including leaders, teachers, support staff, students, parents, and community members. And the charge of that group was to review and, if needed, revise our current middle school schedule to look at more choice for electives for those students, entry pathways into the high school, as that is also coming up with our blueprint requirement. And then also looking at possible in-school options for IEC or alternative placement for those students that might need that. And then also looking at clubs, extracurricular sports activities as well while we were together. So once we all convened, we did have a survey with all of those members of the middle school task force. And from that survey, the top issues you can see are listed here. The biggest one was offering more elective choices for students at the middle school level. Those could be included world languages, robotics, different things for them to have an opportunity to explore. And then looking at the college and career readiness potential. And then also moving away from 90-minute instructional blocks. 90 minutes to sit in a classroom with 6th or 7th, 8th graders is a very long time. Looking to remove the A-B day, so that refers to specials. So one student might have PE on an A day and then another elective from the small amount of choice that they have there on a B day, so they flip them. So we looked at possibly moving that and then moving to possible semesterized elective choices. And then the other topic that came up with the survey from this group was offering middle school sports. So given that survey information, and then, really looking the top ones being those electives, 90-minute blocks, kind of looking at that scheduling as a whole, Dr. Smith tasked us to have a subcommittee focused on scheduling from the middle school task force to look at our current schedules and determine if we could make those changes to remove 90-minute blocks and offer more choice and looking at the AB day schedule. So when we met, we included all of the middle school principals and then representatives from those same stakeholder groups, just at a smaller level for the subcommittee. We met 2 different times to determine that we definitely want to revamp the schedules. That was needed, but it was a job that we kept hitting roadblocks in. You know, the subcommittee was not going to be able to handle that because of different roadblocks. Some of the biggest ones would be staffing. Some of them would also be our buildings to have enough space to offer, you know, different type of schedule for electives. So we realized that that's not something that subcommittee could take on. So then we requested that our ESSER 2 funds be allocated to fund a middle school scheduling consultant to come in and really get information from the schools, from surveys from our stakeholders, about how we can engage our students more by looking at removing the 90-minute block or the ABD schedule. We know engagement is critical to keep our students hooked and focused on learning and do the best that they possibly can. So we submitted that for using those funds for that. And then this kind of breaks down here a little bit of what our funds would be used for. The scheduling consultant would come in. So like I said, we would look at our current schedules for all 4 middle schools in very, you know, fine-tooth and comb detail as to see how the time and staff resources are currently allocated. How are we using those now? And then interview our stakeholders, surveys, meet with middle school leaders, staff, gathering all that information to determine what parameters, what are our wants versus our needs for revamping the middle school schedule. And this also gets information, we want to get information from students. We want to hear their voice on choice for electives and, you know, what we offer and what we should or would like to offer. Also looking at intervention and acceleration for students that, you know, need some interventions to be more successful, or those students who are doing very well and need to have that acceleration options to keep them engaged as well. Also, with the provider, we would like to deliver concrete and different scheduling options. So we really want them to get all that information in and then give us some scheduling options of what we could use to change the schedules to meet those needs and wants of our students. And then we would then have them help us provide technical support for building those schedules to support the areas of those wants and needs, and then offer guidance on how to implement the schedule, making sure that the staff understands how the students will, students understand their new schedule and different things like that.
So the process we undertook at this point was to work on the grant amendment with the ESSER 2 funds. As Ms. Gonzalez said, it went right in with the intent of ESSER 2, what we should be doing with those funds. So it was, the amendment was made, it was sent to MSDE, and it was approved as a potential expenditure. We then, one of my first times ever, went through the RFP, the request for proposal for curriculum materials. You do not have to do requests for proposals usually, like Dr. Jaffer's office always does. So that was a little bit different for us. So we worked with Fiscal and we posted the RFP to the eMaryland Marketplace on March 10th, and we closed on March 24th. 5 bids were submitted, and then technical evaluations were reviewed by the RFP committee, voting members, and from that 2 contractors were qualified to meet the parameters and the scope of work to do the price proposal evaluation. New Solutions K through 12 received the highest score by the review team and was determined to provide the best overall value for SMCPS for the scope of work. And there is a link to New Solutions K through 12 if you'd like to look at the company in a little bit more depth. They have also done extensive work with many, many other districts, which we didn't find with a lot of other of the proposals. The price and quote, this was very nice in their RFP, so we wanted to make sure that we put this because it was extremely detailed about what they would do in the 3 phases of providing services for us, and those descriptions, scope of work correlated directly with those parameters or scope of work that we put in the RFP. So phase 1 is really just gathering that information and taking it. And then phase 2 is really delivering to us recommendations. And they're not only going, my understanding is they're not only going to give us 1 recommendation, they're going to give us several different pathways that we could go down to address our wants and needs. And then they'll work with us throughout next year to actually, once we select some of those pathways, to actually share with us how we can do that. So we'll be working on kind of revamping the schedule with this information all through next year in preparation for next year. And that was really important too, because as you know, by next October, we have to have any budget implications to you. So we wanted to make sure that we knew by October, November, what we needed to bring before you for those changes to be put in place the next fiscal year. So at this time, we will certainly entertain questions, but we ask that the Board of Education approve this agenda item as presented.
I just wanted to say that I'm really glad that you guys are doing this because when we went and talked to middle school students, I feel like that was definitely the number one thing that we heard about. Everyone was just like, man, I hate sitting in these 90-minute blocks and like sports. But I totally understand that middle school is just like the most challenging beast of a scheduling problem because, you know, it starts like super early and it ends kind of before people's parents get off work. And like, how do you pick up your kids from practice if it's right after school but it ends right when work ends? Like, there's just a slew of things that make this complicated. So I think going with a consultant is a fantastic idea. Because someone who maybe has a fresh perspective can do something worthwhile with all the information from all of our stakeholders. And I'd just like to say I'm very glad you guys are using student input in this process because middle schoolers know what middle schoolers want, and that's really what it is. But yeah, I just want to say thank you. I'm very glad this is an undertaking.
No questions. Good work. No questions.
I'm excited. I think it's a step forward for that age group, and I'm looking forward to seeing. My question is, when do you want to implement? I mean, I know you can't, but I'm just saying, what's the goal, like 24, 25?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
At least pieces of it. We may have to phase it depending on what they share with us. But yes, we absolutely would like to have some of those pieces in place by 24, 25.
I think it'll be good. Thank you. That's all.
I appreciate the student input, but on the phase 1, 2, and 3 from the consultant, I saw that they're going to talk with middle school leaders, but where do the students fit into that process?
Okay, so we will be doing that ourselves.
Okay.
Because to make sure that they would go within, anybody would go within budget.
Right.
We have to take in that part ourselves. So we will be doing our own surveys to both parents and students, because that's what none of the vendors could kind of go within our budget. We would have had to request more money from the amendment, and I don't think we were willing to do that. But our understanding from any vendor is once we do the parent surveys and the student surveys, they will take that information in conjunction with what they did to make their plan.
That would be during the phase 1 meeting.
Correct.
Yeah. So, and my only suggestion, so I don't know who you're going to target or when they're going to start it, but it might be beneficial to hit your 9th and 10th graders that have come out because.
Who've experienced
now, right. Well, I mean, now plus they're in high school, so now they can say, okay, well, this is what really would have been beneficial, 3 years ago, but I didn't have an opportunity to have that.
Actually, on our committee already, we have a student from every academy on there, as well as Fair Lead, the tech center. So we already have kids on the larger committee ready to work with us, which is good. But 9th and 10th graders, definitely. Freshman academy, we want to make sure we target them too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. I have a side comment, but I'm good. Mrs. Washington.
SMCPS is always focused on continuous improvement, and that's what you're doing. We're always looking for ways to do things more effectively and efficiently. And thank you for including the students and being budget conscious. To make that happen, it's important to get the student and the parents' opinions on decisions or programs or changes that we're going to make. Because if you want to know what a student thinks, you need to ask a student. And I appreciate always the comments of our student board member. She's excellent. She gives us valuable input. So thank you for all the input that you give us on every topic that we discuss. And you're just a wonderful school leader.
Thank you,
And
Mrs. Washington.
thank you. And thank you for all that you've done. I think this is going to be great to see what options they will come up with and see what we can implement. So thank you both and the committee members very much. Thank you.
In reading through the bio of the gentleman who is at the head of New Solutions K-12, I think it's interesting that he's served as a school superintendent as well as a school board member. Interesting experience. I'm sort of struck by the fact that it doesn't talk about whatever teaching experience he had, because I know that in some places a person can be a school superintendent never having studied education nor worked in a classroom. That said, I am a big proponent of people who've walked the walk are actually then the ones who are leading the charge, because they understand what it means to implement something, to do so successfully, and to have a good outcome. And when that doesn't happen, it's glaringly obvious. So thank you for bringing this forward. I'm excited. That middle school study we last did was long ago. And I know that that some of what was in it was never implemented. We were not able to do so. So I'm hopeful that this will bring us to a better place, because I think our students deserve it, and so do our teachers. Thanks.
Okay. With that, may I have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve award of contract RFP SMCPS 2023 DCI MSSC to New Solutions K-12 for the middle school scheduling consultant with a cost not to exceed $85,000.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you very much. All right.
Thank you,
Next
Principal
up.
Consolver.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
All right.
right in time for lunch. Have fun.
Ms. Dvorak.
Which lunch?
Well, there's several.
Exactly. I had 8th period lunch.
She's middle school though.
I had 8th period lunch in 8th grade.
Oh, that's right, because it's all staggered. You're right.
Yeah.
I think you're awesome.
That was phenomenal.
Was that late?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. You just go home after 7th, essentially, like mentally. It was great.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. So I am here to propose an element. I like that we call it a textbook adoption, but it's so much more. It's so much more for K through 5, so kindergarten through 5th grade. So just to put a little bit in context, in 2016, the board approved a materials refresh for the text that we currently had for grades 4 through 5, which was HMH Journeys. The next following year, it was approved to refresh the 3rd grade materials as well, but then there was also an approval for a curriculum adoption for K through 2, and that's when we adopted McGraw-Hill Wonders. Both of the refresh and the adoption were 6 years, so we are up now. And then also in 2019, MSDE began vetting curriculums of all LEAs, and SMCPS is scheduled to be vetted in 2026, so we have a little bit of time, but really not that much. It is sneaking up on us. And if we were to stick with the current curriculums, they would not pass the MSDE vetting because they do not meet expectations on ed reports. So March of last year, we got approval for an elementary ELA curriculum adoption for the school year, so we're very excited. When we first started, we as an ELA team wanted to make sure that whatever we were looking at aligned to, first and foremost, the science of reading and research and what we know good reading instruction should include, and that it also aligned to our vision for elementary ELA instruction, which includes that focus on foundational reading skills, teaching kids how to read, teaching kids how to write, but then also making sure, and again, aligned with research, that students are being exposed to content knowledge and building their background knowledge and vocabulary, and then that they have access to rigorous grade level text in which they can read or be read to in some cases, and that they can respond through conversations with their peers or through
writing. When we were looking at criteria, we decided to go ahead and stick with the same rubrics that MSDE is using to vet district curriculums. And so that looks at alignment to the Maryland College and Career Ready standards, the evidence of key shift from the Common Core, including reading, close reading of texts, writing connected to texts, vocabulary instruction, those instructional supports, assessments, and then also equity and accessibility to make sure that we are reaching all of our learners. So from June to October of 2022, the ELA team was very busy trying to find that unicorn, that perfect curriculum that does not exist out there. So we developed our initial criteria that I talked about just a couple of minutes ago, that it's aligned to the science of reading and really aligns to our vision. We met with almost every single, first we started at Ed Reports and identified all of the curriculums that were green across the board, highly rated. We met with vendors and really narrowed our options to 3 choices. And what we're looking for is kind of shifting away from how we've traditionally taught for many, many years ELA, and where we're very standards focused in that we will teach main idea for a week and then we will switch to author's purpose and we'll teach that for a week and then we might come back to main idea 6 weeks later, but we know that that's really not how it works, to making sure that whatever we were looking at was focused on the text and weaving in multiple standards to help students really build a solid understanding of what they are reading. So we picked our top 3 based on that. In November and December, we actually organized a pilot program and trained our pilot teachers in the curriculums that they would be piloting. And then we also began organizing our elementary ELA curriculum adoption committee, which included a parent, school-based administrators, teachers, IRTs, special education staff, community members from the NAACP, and then also representation from our access and equity staff. And then we held 8 meetings from January to March. We set it up so the vendor would come and present to us, and then the following week we would have our pilot teachers share their experience and really give teachers time to dig into the materials and go through the rubrics for their ratings. And then in April 2023, we submitted our top 2 curriculum recommendations to the Department of Instruction, which included the Director of Curriculum Instruction, Deputy Superintendent, and Superintendent for review and consideration. And then we're able to share the press release with their selection with the community, asking for their perspective and feedback. So those materials were on display at all 3 public libraries for a week as well. So the selection was Benchmark Advanced 2022, and some considerations that were made in selecting that curriculum was that it is highly rated on Ed Reports. It includes both science and social studies content, and you'll see that there are 10 units, and you'll see that in just a little bit. And so it switches between science, social studies, and then literature as well. And again, what we know is that once students have mastered those foundational skills, 60% of the variance in their ability to comprehend comes from their background knowledge and their content knowledge, and then also that vocabulary. So we tried to pick something that was really going to help build that content knowledge. And Benchmark also had more alignment to our science and social studies standards. A lot of scaffolding intervention resources, and then it seems easier for some conditional and new teachers to use, which we know we have an increasing population of. Because there is nothing perfect out there, we are going to continue with Wilson Foundation's K-3 and Hegarty for K-1, and Hegarty is our phonological phonemic awareness curriculum. And so that's really going to hit that word recognition part of our reading rope, and then Benchmark Advanced 2022 will be really used to build that language comprehension, kind of whole group instruction for K through 5. So we will not be purchasing that. Benchmark has phonics components and foundational skills components that we did not feel were up to the same level of what we're currently using, and we are not purchasing any of those components. So as you can see, there are, one of the beautiful things about Benchmark Advance, if there are 10 3-week units, and those units actually span K through 5. So students can start building their knowledge about a subject in kindergarten, and they're going to continue working on that same subject through 5th grade, to include things like life science, government and citizenship, technology and society, earth science, economics, and also physical science. So a lot of interwoven connections there. This is everything that our teachers and students will receive. We were able to, like I said, we were able to work with a company to get some of the components removed, such as the phonics and the readers' theaters, just because those were things that we didn't feel really aligned with our foundational skills instruction. So we are purchasing the teacher resource system books, intervention materials that we are going to look at very closely, though, before we make any recommendations to how they are used. There also is access to digital assessments, which we started taking a look at. Knowledge building texts for whole group and independent reading. These are supplemental texts that will help continue building the content knowledge that students are learning from their the core text that they'll be reading. Some whole group big books in grades K through 1, and then instead of a traditional textbook, what students will have are, almost, you've seen them, they are these little magazines. They are consumable. They will be replenished every year through our adoption, but what's nice is they keep it for 3 weeks, and then it can be sent home, and then inside students can annotate and take notes as well. And so this is just a close look at what a 4th grade one looks like. One of the strengths of Benchmark is that it has what they call a knowledge blueprint, where for 3 weeks, students really are reading text connected to the same topic to help build that knowledge, and then they can take notes about each of those texts, and it kind of leads to a culminating task or activity that they'll be asked to do. And it also has at the end a take-home calendar of activities, so a good homeschool connection as well. In addition, there will be digital access to all resources for teachers through Benchmark Universe. There's also a student-facing platform, so teachers can assign students assignments, and it is compatible with Schoology, so we know that that works. And then pending board approval, we have multiple professional development opportunities are being planned for both June, July, and August. So we have 2 dates in June, a date in July, an early date in August, and anybody who still needs it, that August 17th Professional Development Day will be an option as well. I know you thought social studies was a big number. So we are looking at a cost of $1,873,651.50. That includes a 6-year contract for all digital license and all student consumables to be renewed. So there should not be any recurring costs after this year. And are really hopeful that they can deliver on their promise to have everything delivered to us by June 12th, so we can get it barcoded and in teachers' hands as soon as possible. So with that, we recommend that the Board of Education approve this agenda item as presented, and like everyone else, I am open for questions if you have them.
I don't have any questions. I just wanted to say thank you, because elementary ELA is so important. It's like the foundation of learning. Learning to read is like so necessary for everything else you do. I'm about to go take a test where most of it is like me reading. So yeah.
And a science test. So the
yeah,
importance of integrating that reading into
science
all those content areas.
Yeah. Wow, everything is connected. But
yes.
Yeah, Dr. Smith always says reading is thinking, thinking is learning, learning is great. So, yep, that is how I feel about this. Awesome, thank you.
Jim?
Knowledge building text for independent reading. Could you explain a little bit more what that means?
So they are essentially, they advertise them as what they would use as small group text. We don't want to call them small group text because we really want our teachers to continue following the small group guidance that we have crafted. I think that's one of, so they are like this. They're just little readers that are aligned to that same content that are just give students another opportunity to read something to help build that knowledge. Yeah, and they're more supplemental, and we see them really being used. They might be used with a small group if that's what the student needs, but not because the teacher manual is telling them that, or they might just be given to students as like an independent choice.
Are they leveled?
Yes. But we're hoping, we're not using them that way.
So Jim, think of like the old SRA boxes that
Yes.
we
Yep.
had,
Mhm.
right, in elementary school. Or
yep.
Yeah.
Right, where, you know, you were aqua, olive, orange, whatever it was. So just supplemental if you had someone who is exceeding what the standards are,
Right.
and you want to keep them engaged.
Okay, that's a good answer.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey. Appreciate you.
I'll buy that.
You fed my kid Doritos and he was excited.
There you go.
After school, and we were picking up my daughter, so I was bribing him. Dorothy?
So this cost, does that include the little booklet that they go home with? So this price includes that for the 6
Yes.
years? So that's everything?
Everything.
May we go back to that little rope? I
Yes.
just have a question.
Of course.
So the only thing that we're really using benchmark is for the 5th grade?
No, it's going to be K through 5. It's K through 5. That rope,
Okay, what's
yeah.
the Wilson?
So these,
What's the Wilson
these
Foundation?
three,
and-
these three they already have in process, they're already
Mhm.
using. So we are not buying these 3 pieces of the rope to use this
Oh,
graphic,
okay,
right?
so-
Benchmark is
okay.
gonna meet these 5 standards or goals.
Okay.
It looks like DNA.
It does,
It does
doesn't
look
it?
like DNA, yes.
Okay, that's all I have.
Yep.
Thank you.
I didn't have anything, thank you. Mrs. Washington?
Thank you.
Mhm.
It looked very engaging, so, you know, and I think the ability to really, you know, pull children in and excite them goes a long way toward encouraging them to do reading on their own and not to look at it as a chore, but as a just true wonder. So.
And I do have, so I'm assuming that the digital piece is whiteboard or, you know, smartboard compatible, and then it is also, can it be on a computer or an iPad
I
as
believe
well?
so.
Okay.
I believe so, yes.
They advertise it being multimodal.
Yes.
Okay, well, just checking,
Yep.
so, okay. All right, with that, may I have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the award of the contract to purchase Benchmark Advanced 2022 textbooks and corresponding instructional material from Benchmark Education for adoption of the elementary ELA curriculum for grades K through 5 at a cost of $1,873,651.50.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dvorak.
Okay, so, last, Ms. Tammy McCourt.
Financial
With our
report.
financial report.
So how are we gonna pay for that? We
Fund
gotta pay for it, because we gotta get it in, because we gotta have all that in-house, so we can give it to people before we end the school year. So, wow.
Sometimes it just works. Well, I'll get it eventually.
That didn't work.
How about that?
There we go.
Good morning. So before you is the financial report for the month of April. On the revenues, we have received $235.7 million of the $254.4 million budget, with a remaining amount of $18.7 million, predominantly in the area of state aid and a little bit remaining to be received still in federal aid. And that will absolutely be received before June 30th. On the expenditure side, there are 2 areas of note, the same 2 areas as
in the prior months, and it is special education, out-of-county transfers. It exceeds budget in that particular line, but absolutely will stay within the categorical adopted budget. On the last component is within the insurance account, fixed charges. It currently sits at $24.1 million with encumbrances outstanding of $4.1 million at 92.56% of the budget. However, we have added a little footnote for you that our Care First claims to premiums paid financial position as of the end of March is in a deficit of $1.2 million. So we'll continue to monitor that category, but likely we will be in need of a categorical transfer. Are there any questions?
Anyone?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, with that, let's see, our next board meeting will be on Wednesday, May 24th, with executive session at 5 and open meeting beginning at 6, and that will be just one short week before graduation. So, with that, we are adjourned.